Hello and welcome. Welcome to the Mat to Mastery podcast. This podcast brings the worlds of leadership and martial arts and showcases the ways in which the principles of martial arts transcend physical combat, becoming guiding principles that enable individuals to overcome life's challenges. You will get to hear all kinds of stories highlighting those who have integrated these principles into their leadership journeys. This podcast serves as a beacon of inspiration for those seeking to navigate their own paths of growth, self-improvement, and leadership. And today we have a very special guest, a wonderful guest who is the head instructor of Hunter Valley Martial Arts. She started karate in 2011 and attained her black belt in 2014. She's a black belt in Brazilian Jiu-Jitsu and also a black belt in Hunter Fight Fit. She's the Sydney champion in Australian girls in gi as a purple belt. She placed second in National Machado Championships. She's a bronze medalist in 2018 for the IFBJJ World Masters and ranked top 50 in the IFBJJ rankings. She is the head coach of Brazilian Jiu-Jitsu at Hunter Valley Martial Arts Centre, which includes the Mat Rats Kids BJJ program and the Women's Only BJJ program. She also runs Women's Empowerment Program, and she was also my very first BJJ partner. And it brings me so much pleasure and honor to have the most amazing person on this planet that I've had the pleasure of meeting and rolling with, Miss Kelie Fisher. Yay! Hello.
Good to see you. Wow, that was a big introduction.
Wow, you've accomplished so much, my friend.
There's a lot.
So.
We like it. Yeah, I just love it. I'm very passionate about what I do.
Yeah, I get it. And so what have you been doing? How's the Mat to Mastery been treating you lately?
I'm actually I'm coming off an injury at the moment, so I haven't trained a lot, but still been coaching a lot. But I'm coming back now on the mat, so I'm training back now. So it's feeling really good to get my body moving properly again, especially as I get a bit older too, to be able to move around. I just love what I do. It is my life. Martial arts is my life. I just love it. It's very
so good.
It is empowering for me. So what I love to do.
And when we started, we started 2011, 2012, and we were the only two females on the mats at the time. And that was quite confronting for me. And luckily you were there because we had each other to support and each other to grow from. But now it's completely different because now you have a women's empowerment program that involves BJJ, and you have an amazing group of women lined up who are extremely lucky to have you as their coach. But tell me about that. Tell us about the women's empowerment, how that came about, what inspired you to start the program, and what are some of the shifts that you've noticed with the people that you get to coach, as well as your own leadership.
Yeah, well, it is true. So I started karate in 2011. I actually watched BJJ for a little bit because, again, it is very confronting and there was no women around. At that stage, there was none here at our centre at Warners Bay, where I was training out of. But then I started working overnight, so I couldn't do it overnight. But then when I changed jobs, that's when I went, I want to do this. And I guess I was very lucky, and both of us were very lucky. We had some very supportive men. That they were literally like, there's a girl, they look as though they like it, we're going to hold on to them, and they fostered us really well. So I was very lucky in that way. And in 2015, I started the Women's Only program. That was my first coaching. I was a blue belt, started that in 2015. And so that's going on 8 years now. I now have, just in the BJJ team, I actually have more than half my team's women now. So we did have it as half the team, and they're slight. It's just jostling at the moment. So, but when it comes to the empowerment program, so I teach a program called Rock and Water, and we did a focus on girls. I do the focus on girls one with that as well. And I actually looked at it because when you see a lot of self-defense programs that people will put on, they just think about like kicking them and punching them and being able to attack. So for me, the empowerment program was using that physical aspect to realize how strong and powerful we are and how powerful our bodies are, to be able to use that physical thing to be able to connect your mind and your heart with your physical abilities, and that empowerment to be able to say, use your voice first, because you know if it comes down to the nitty gritty that you can actually use your body. So, and having been in a toxic relationship, it was emotional abuse as well. Part of that was because I didn't see what was happening at the time, is being able to set those boundaries. So I sat down with Dr. Romany McGuffog, who is actually one of our Shihans here, and she has a PhD in psychology. So we actually developed that program. So she does a bit of the theory stuff, and I do the exercises with it. So we just use both our skills to be able to come up with this program that was about empowering women to realise that they are strong and that they deserve to take up their space. Of course, without taking up everyone else's space, but to be able to stand strong and know that they are strong, and just basically to empower them to go, I deserve to be here. And so that's where we started. We started that one. So we do a 10-week program around that.
That's beautiful. And can you give us an example of what that empowerment looks like, how it feels like, and what you've noticed with the members that you've been working with? Is there an example that you'd be able to provide?
Oh, absolutely. One of the women who come to our first program, she ended up coming and doing Brazilian Jiu-Jitsu with me and karate as well. I still remember her. We did an exercise that actually showed how strong our legs are. So a lot of women don't realize that they're physically strong, particularly in their legs and their hips, because that's the way we're built. Particularly with that, is that she literally got up and looked at her legs and just went, I'm so sorry I've hated you for so long. I didn't realize, and she said it in front of the whole group. So that was really powerful to hear that. And that's what I wanted, is to realize that no matter what we look like, no matter what bad days we're having, is to be able to accept what we're in that moment, to be able to accept what we are like. But realize that just because aesthetically we might not like ourselves, but realize, especially with mums, you've produced a baby, like you've produced life. Like for me, I love my tree trunk thighs, and I love that they get me around in the world so that I can experience stuff in the world. So just those sorts of things. And that was probably the biggest one. She stayed with me for quite some time. It was only just work, took her away. And she actually only messaged me probably about 2 months ago to say that she went out to a club. A guy tried to grab her around the throat, and she used the self-defenses that I actually had showed her, to be able to get out of a choke. So that was really powerful, amazing, to be able to get that stuff. Yeah. But that's the main thing. Amazing. This is me.
Yeah, I get it. I'm so in that boat myself as well. I, for a long time in my teenage years, looked at my thighs thinking, my goodness, they're so thick, they're so big. But now I'm like, they're muscly, they're strong, they're my assets. So I completely can agree with that.
And
men. That must have been. Give me that triangle.
Yes.
I love it. And that must have been so empowering for you as well, Kelie, observing that, witnessing that, and you being the guiding light to this woman and more women who are more and more finding out that the true power does lie within them, and you're opening that door of opportunities for them to explore what that looks like and how that feels. And that must be, how has that impacted you and your journey into your own leadership?
So I think the biggest thing that I take out of it is, for me, it's the way that it's my purpose. I feel I'm living my purpose. I actually say I hashtag a lot of things, living my legacy. So I have said about it before. So particularly, I don't have children of my own, even though people say I've got 400 kids, because the amount of students that we have here. For me, it's my way of giving to the world and trying to make the world a better place. But for me, it's not, if I can make one individual be the best version of themselves, they can do it on to someone else, and they can do it on to someone else, and that way we actually spread it across the world. So all in our communities, or just in general. So that for me, if I can do it for impact one person, then for me, I've done my purpose. I feel that that's my purpose in life, basically.
I
So
love it.
and
I love it. Wow. Knowing that you have served a community of 400 plus kids and that you're serving that purpose, I mean, I dare say that in itself is creating a version of you.
Yes. So that's why for me, just telling people that you need to be the best version of yourself, you need to follow what I do, isn't enough. I need to live that as well. So for me, that's what is about leadership. Leadership is not, you need to do this. Leadership is actually showing the path and guiding people. So that's what it is for me. It's not just follow me. It's actually, this is the way I live in my purpose. You have your own path as well, and we can help each other, guide each other on that path. So just following me brings you on my path. It doesn't bring you on yours. So that for me is to actually help guide them onto their own path. And that's where you get to be the best version of yourself. You have to live it. You have to live what you say.
I get it. The whole practice what you preach.
Yes. Yeah.
And
What is it?
in Brazilian,
Do as I. You're right. I was just going to say it's not do as I say, not as I do. It's going to be do as I say and do as I do.
I get it. I get it. Yes. What would you say one of the key traits are in Brazilian Jiu-Jitsu? And how would you apply this trait when dealing with challenges as a leader?
The number one I'd say is resilience, because especially with any martial arts, and I find it particularly, I've had this conversation a few times with students with jiu-jitsu, is because you can go up like this, and then all of a sudden it dips, and then you'll go up again, because with your learning, and then because you'll start doing stuff that you've done all the time, but people are actually counteracting that. So you're going, well, what was that mistake? So you have to look at it and review. Okay, well, what was the mistake I made, and be able to find a different way to get around that mistake or get around what you want to achieve. So for me, that's the biggest thing, is about resilience, and particularly as a female in the sport. So now it's just gone leaps and leaps and bounds. So when we were first around, 10, 11 years ago, there wasn't many around. And I think it was maybe, well, we went to the camp, a gig camp, and we were just off our blue belts, just close to our blue belts. So it was, 12 months before we found a community with lots of women around. And at that stage, to see what they go through now, like there was, 100 of us or something, only just 100, but now they can get 150, and they have to cut it off early to go to camps. And just done a mini camp not long ago, just to be able to all come together and build that community as well. But along with the amazing, like just in the general community, the amazing men that we have in our community as well, and surrounding them with them. So yeah, there's several things, but resilience would probably be the biggest one.
I love it. I love it. I think you hit the nail on the head. Yeah. Resilience. And I remember that camp, my goodness, sleeping in the dojo on the floor. That was awesome.
Yeah, I got a hotel the next one.
Speaking of resilience.
And the tram ride.
Epic.
We got on the wrong tram, go the wrong way.
Yes, you got us lost. That's hilarious. Oh gosh, memories. Geez, we've come such a long way, yourself and myself since then. My goodness, resilience. Yes, thanks to BJJ, and
Yes.
I guess in both in BJJ and leadership, it requires strong work ethics. How does the discipline that you've developed in BJJ, in your own martial arts, contribute to your effectiveness as a leader?
I guess I've always had a strong work ethic. So having worked from early teens, um, but the thing is, particularly when it comes to competitions. So like for when I went to Worlds, which you did my strength and conditioning for, it was really, yeah, I had to really show the strength and discipline to be able to do that. So have that program that we had written out, and I actually got sick in between. There was about a week where I was really sick, but I had to just pick myself up once I got well. But I needed to listen to my body. I guess that's the one thing with it, is always listen to your body. As well, is that you find different ways, so you can still show the discipline, but if your body's not working. So I guess I'd use an example because I've had two major knee injuries that have kept me off the mats for 6 months or more. Also had one that was a significant one, but it wasn't a major injury. Is I couldn't physically move my body. So what I did was actually watch things and study things, even to look at even my students. So when they were rolling, when they were drilling, is that I actually look at them and go, okay, well, you need to change it just this little bit. So, and for me, because I'm short, I'm stocky, I've got, 6 foot guys that I have to adjust, with no hip, very little hip mobility. So I've got to look at what they're doing so that I can change the technique or change the way they move their body to actually get to the technique that we're trying to do. So I guess for that is the discipline of being able to just watch and learn and look, even if my body's not working, because it's not always about like my body. My body's not always going to be the healthiest all the time. Is there those times, because I think that's the time when you go, my body's not really well, so you let your heart and your mind actually start to slip as well, so that you start to get into mental health issues and stuff like that. I think it's really important to find a different way to be able to achieve the same thing, basically, so that resilience comes in again.
And you've mentioned that mind and heart, connecting the mind, heart, and integrating your physical abilities to then execute whatever outcome results that you desire. Is there a way that you connect that mind and body so that your body can then, or mind and heart, like what are some strategies that you use that you could share?
I guess when I talk about that, because a lot of it comes from teaching rock and water and learnt about rock and water, because that's a lot of the basis of what that program's about. So the program actually teaches kids, but when you're learning how to teach it to kids, it was very empowering for me and very eye opening for me as well. And a lot of adults say that, because you think you're going along in life and then you go, oh, okay, now I understand. But for me, and this is what I teach with it, and I think about it a lot, in that if I can feel what's going, if I'm connected to my body and I can feel what's going on in my body, is I actually connect to my emotions, because your body will tell you when you're feeling tense. Your body will tell you when you're feeling frustrated. Your body will tell you when you're feeling scared. So, and having those feelings and being able to go, okay, well, what's happening right now? And so then that connects you to the body so that you actually reflect through. So I think it's kept me a lot calmer. I will admit, I'm not the most patient person, but it's made me a lot more patient, especially when I'm coaching. So I coach teenagers. You know what it's like. You coach teenagers, so you have to be patient. So when I can feel that maybe I might be I'm due to come up for holidays and I might feel a bit stressed or whatever, I can feel it in my body where I start to tense up. So I take the breaths. It's just, I might have to just stop and I take a breath. Even just that split second, because I even when I'm teaching, I'm very high energy when I teach. That it's just that you have to take those moments to just go, let's just chill, and it resets you. I just find if I breathe, it resets my body and it resets my mind, and then I go, okay, well, I'm calm now. So for me, it's big breath's a big thing. So yeah, and it just stopping whatever I'm doing. If I feel it right at that time, I need to stop what I'm doing right then, and just be able to just basically tell myself to chill. So that's the biggest thing.
I love that. Oh, thank you so much for mentioning that. The power of the breath. And there's
Yes.
a mindfulness analogy called the stop analogy, where the S is to, if you're feeling overwhelmed, again, this comes to awareness, having that body awareness. If you're feeling it in the tension in your body, you stop what you're doing. The T is to take a deep breath in. And then the O is to observe. Be curious. The mindfulness teaches us be curious rather than be judgmental, which often some of us are. We can go, what's wrong with me? Why am I feeling like this? And we can often think of those emotions in a negative way. But I have learned recently that all emotions are equal. Doesn't matter if you're angry, you're sad, you're happy, you're joy, they're all equal. What matters is the meaning that you give behind those words. And then, so you got stop, take a deep breath, observe, and then by then, as you said, when you stop to take a deep breath, you're instructing the nervous system to settle down, and then you're able to then proceed with whatever task at hand. So I think you're spot on there with the breathing exercises. I love that. I was on the mats yesterday morning, and one of the guys just before I walked off the mat said, "Hey, have you got a minute to do some sparring?" Like, yeah, absolutely. Why not? Just before we hit it off, I said, "Okay, is there anything you're working on? How can I help you with anything, or do you just want a free roll?" And he said, "I actually want to work on my breathing."
Yep.
Because as you know, when we're grappling, you half of the reason that we tank out so quickly is because of our breathing. We're just rapidly breathing and using up so much energy, and we're gassed out. So I wonder, what sort of tips could you offer those leaders who can find themselves in situations where they could be stressful, they could be stuck? And what are some techniques, or I know you mentioned breathing earlier, but what are some ways that's helped you in your journey when grappling, that's helped you on your leadership? What are some advice that you could give?
Mindfulness is a big thing. I find I actually say to people, like, for me, grappling is, and even doing stand up, so kumite for karate. For me, that is mindfulness. Because I can't sit and do like the yoga poses and that. I just can't. I've got to keep my body moving. That's just the way I am. But when it comes to like sparring and fighting, it comes down to mindfulness to me, because you've got to be in the moment. You can't think about what I've got to cook for dinner or what your kids did this morning while someone's trying to rip your arm off or choke you. So, so mindfulness, so being in that moment, I just find that's that's one thing. So, and I think for grappling, and I think it goes with anything. So, if you are, if you're the CEO or anything like that, if you're trying to work out a problem, you need to slow things down. So, we had a seminar. So, my coach is Anthony Lange, and he come up and did a seminar a couple of weeks ago. And what we did, and we talked about, and we've actually already done, we did it on Monday night in the class, is we did sloth rolling. So basically, we tap, we bump, we move literally like a sloth. So that way you could feel where your hands could go. So that was one of the things. And so, yeah, so that's what we were starting to do. I tend to roll very slowly, as in because I feel. If I guess I do it more if I feel I'm under threat or it's someone I don't know or I haven't rolled with a lot, is I'll roll with my eyes closed. So because what I'm doing is actually feeling with my body more. So I'll actually feel where they're slightly tipped over. But even just, I guess if, with, because I used to be in a high pressure job, and these were things that I guess I wished I'd had known back then, because that was high. I was under high stress with that. Is just to slow down what I was doing. Is not to think about I've got to do this, this, and this, and this. It's just I've just got to. I'm only one person. I can only tackle it one thing at a time. If it needs to be done, it needs to be done. A couple of things need to be done at the same time. I've got to delegate. So for leadership in that way, and like my workspaces, I've just got to delegate. This needs to be done. You can do this. You've got the skills to do that. You've got the skills to do that. And so, I guess one of the things too with my job is I always tried to have people around me that were stronger in the areas I was a little bit weaker in. So that's a big thing for me is being able to work as a part of a team, even though I work really well on my own and I know where I'm going with stuff. There's just sometimes you just need other people as well. And I think just with the empowerment and stuff, a big thing that when it comes to the focus on girls is the one thing that I realized that vulnerability isn't a weakness. So being able, as a leader, you need to know when you have to step back. So there are times that you have to step back, and it's okay to step back and let someone else take the reins because you've got to take care of yourself. So that's a big thing. So especially when it comes to high stress is like delegate and let people do it. You can't do it all on your own. It's a massive thing for me.
I love that. Being a recovering control freak. I can totally relate to that.
I hear you. Still am one, not recovering, still am one.
That's hilarious. One of the key messages. Yes. One of the key messages I got out of that was slow down. Literally slow your body down. I really love that sloth method. That is a really good approach to getting that awareness into the body. I really love that idea.
Yep.
I would love to see that on camera. That would be so fun to watch, but also inspiring. Everyone
do an arm drag. But I guess it particularly is getting older. Yeah, that's pretty much what it is. It's getting older. So like I went and cross-trained. He's my unofficial coach. I tell him he's my unofficial coach. So Tari Gorilla from Gorilla Jiu-Jitsu. When I went over to there, I rolled with one of his brown belts. We literally rolled for just over 40 minutes and we had 3 stoppages, and it was 3 subs, and we just went tap, go again. That was how flowy it was, and it was just amazing just to keep my body moving. But that was just to be able to roll for like 40 minutes. It was just amazing.
Yeah, and that's what Bruce Lee teaches us, right? One of his philosophies, be like water, be flowing.
Yes,
right.
Water, my friend. Not rock water all the time. So
be water, my friend.
Yeah. Yeah. So I think that's one of the big things. Yeah.
And I love what you said earlier as well. If it doesn't work out, like it's okay. It's okay if it hasn't worked out. Let's just find another approach. Let's find another angle. And that happens on the mats as well. We have an intention to get out. All right, I'm gonna pull guard, and then I'm gonna do this, and then I'm gonna try this bar and this arm bar. But how many times does that intention ever work? How many times? Hardly ever sometimes. So know. Yeah, go on, Kelie.
I was just going to say, whenever you try it, you're always going to find the mistakes. I still remember being told it's not like this, it's like this. You just have to turn it that little bit, and it's just finding those little changes that make massive differences. So I think everyone thinks I've got to make this big change with my life or whatever. But if you just make a little tiny one, it can actually make a huge impact on your life. So that's what I find even with jiu-jitsu to do that is just move my body just this fraction, just that little bit. Yeah. Learned that very quickly.
Well said. Well said. I love that. And just little adjustments at a time is eventually, going to get you there. But here's one of the things that I learned on my journey is every time I felt like I was getting something wrong, I felt that there was something wrong with me. Why am I not getting this? Why am I not learning this? Da da da. And this record would play in my mind, and I would be hard on myself. But over the years, I've learned that it's okay to make a mistake. In fact, we are designed to make mistakes so we can learn. And when I learned that as part of my personal development growth, I embraced making errors. I embraced making a mistake, and it makes life so much easier. And that pressure that I was putting on myself, it just diminished. I'm like, oh my gosh, get rid of this. This is nonsense. Unrealistic expectations that I would have on myself.
And it's just so empowering to go just like that. Whatever, we'll find another way. It's very, for me, that's very empowering to be able to do that. And it's just, you just go, it is what it is.
Yeah, I love it. I love it. It exactly is. It is what it is, and then you can create a new way of looking at the situation at hand. Luckily, we work in an environment that offers that support. I've been lucky on my journey. I've been around people that have been really supportive, and that obviously helps us, especially as females on the mats. It really does help us on our journey and our learning. So that's awesome, Kelie. So what else can you say, for example, provide for those leaders, say, at the moment, if there was that one key that you could offer those leaders, or perhaps it might be someone who is wanting to go into a leadership role, who wants to stand up and take that next step. What is the key message that you can provide? What message can you give them?
I think the biggest thing is being authentically you, because people actually see through it when you feel that you have to be a certain way. You aren't true to yourself, so then you're not true to others. So I think the biggest thing is just being authentically you. For people, they will follow you. If you're not the right fit, they won't, and it's okay if they don't follow you. It just means that you're not their person, or you're not part of their tribe as such, because we all have different things that we want to achieve in life, and you might not necessarily get it from that person. They might be a great leader, but they're not actually great for you. So I think it's that, authentically you, and then you connect to yourself, and other people will connect to you. I think that's a big
mic drop.
Making me think shit.
Give me an horse, girl.
So I said to someone, that's my TED talk for today. So that one of the parents the other day. So that's my TED talk for today. Don't call me Auntie Kel for nothing.
Oh, that was awesome. Authenticity is key. And the beauty about authenticity is you cannot go wrong.
No, you always got to be authentically you.
Exactly. I love that. Connecting with your truth, and that's speaking your truth. That's being your truth. And I love that.
And have fun, people. Thank you. Yeah.
Yes.
Have fun too. You've got to have fun.
Yes. I agree. And and that's the type of environment I like to create when I'm on the mats as well. You gotta have a bit of fun. Yes, you got to have respect. You got to be humble, and all the beautiful other functions and things like that come with the experience. But yeah, you gotta have some fun. Definitely, we have a lot of fun. Yeah. My gosh, we used to have.
I'm still laughing. I still laugh if I'm not rolling. If I'm not laughing when I'm rolling, I'm not actually having a good time.
Yeah. Yeah.
We still
It's
got to
one of
laugh.
those things that 100% agree. 100% agree. I want to ask you this one final question. Now, both BJJ and leadership involve adaptability. How do you see this skill play out in both contexts? So both in BJJ and leadership.
I guess to address it first for BJJ, having the two injuries, like major injuries, it kept you off your mat. When I came back, and I'm only just coming back now, I have to adapt my game. So I have to adapt my game to what my body can do. But I guess, and I guess this time I'm actually feeling my age a little bit more. So coming back, so yeah, I have to adapt my game. So whereas I used to be, and I guess through the ranks, you do adapt your game. So like from white to blue, I was very much a top player, still a pressure player, but I do a lot more guard work, and I had to do that coming back because I couldn't be on my knees. I couldn't drop on my knees, or I couldn't stand on my knees, or I had to be really careful if people tried to sweep me, so that I could get a really good base. So I had to play the ground, like had to play a guard game more. So having that adaptability to do that to change the game, and I guess for leadership, it's the same thing. You got to be able to adapt to circumstances that are around. You might be really good at something, but you might actually, if you just concentrate on what you're really good at, and you don't look at what the ones you don't think you're good at, you won't become a really good all rounder. So and being able to do that, you'll still be stronger in one, but still while you're working on those, still work on those ones that you're not so great at, and not be afraid to not work on those things. So I think that would be it for because life changes all the time. You have to adapt.
Yeah, 100% agree.
And
So
just roll with it.
leveraging
Just roll with it.
on the strengths. Yeah, literally.
Yeah. Yeah.
Yeah, I love it. When we lived in a bigger house, you remember we used to train in the garage,
Yes.
and we had mats, as you know,
Remember
in
running
the
up the
garage.
stairs,
And
back down to do the chin ups.
yep, you remember. One of the things that we did, my husband and I, when we were to settle a disagreement, is we would have a roll. We would say, right, let's go. We're going to have to settle this on the mats. That's how we would literally
Oh, it's a good
fight.
way to do it.
That was our fight.
Jiu-jitsu couples.
Yeah. Yep. Let's
Yeah,
let's
but
go
I guess
handle this and
it
roll
gets your
this.
body moving and to get you thinking.
Yeah, exactly.
I love it. That's good.
Oh, Kelly, is there any final words of wisdom or insights that you wish to share with the world?
Oh, just go and train. And if you haven't done a martial arts, but most of you probably would, go and try another one too. See what you actually love, and just have fun with it and be open. The biggest thing, I guess, for anything is be open to learning, and learning off lots of different people. Because you take out this and you take out this, and then that becomes a part of you. So for me, yeah, be open to learning. That's my biggest thing.
Love it. I love it. Thank you so much for joining me on the Mat to Mastery podcast, Kelly. I'm really grateful that you've taken the time of your busy day to be here and share your wisdom and your insights. This was so much fun. Let's do this again.
Yeah, it was awesome. I'm so excited to see your journey on this podcast. I'm excited to see your journey anyway, but it's particularly this, and it's so awesome to see you back on the mats too.
Oh gosh, I am too, my friend. I am too. It's when one of the biggest things that came to me a couple of months ago while I was rolling on the mats, and I was trying to think about my own leadership, and I went, oh my goodness. And one of the insights that came to me was that leadership is earned, not given. And that's exactly what happens on the mats. You earn
Yes.
those stripes, you earn that belt, and you earn those rankings. The more time and you spend on the mats, the more discipline you have by attending that time, the more you earn the right to be that leader. And I had a couple of the white belts approach me and ask me some questions and things, and I didn't really see myself as a leader on the mats until that point in time. And I realized, oh my gosh, I've now have to lift my game up and step into that leadership as such on the mat. So it's like mat to mastery, you know, how to cultivate the art of leadership from mat to mastery. And that's what this whole idea and this whole concept of putting this together came into play. So, and I'm keen to learn more about others' insights, you know, other black belts' insights, because it is a massive journey. It's never about the black belt, as you know. It's always about the journey and what you get and receive from that. You know, I never forget, is that the writing on the wall still there? A white belt is a black belt that never gave up.
A black belt's a white belt that never gave up.
The other way around. Yeah. And I will never forget that. I never. I'll always remember that.
It is very true.
So that's what we are. You know, we're constantly, because I'm constantly feel like when there's especially a new technique is being introduced, I'm like, you know, back to being a white belt again. You know, back to being that beginner, because you're constantly just evolving and learning. I love it. I love it. I love it.
Yeah, I think that's where people can get put down. They go, oh, I'm back to, I'm a purple belt or a black belt and I'm back to a white belt. But if you go, hey, I'm learning like a white belt again, this is exciting. So just changing your language just a little bit in your brain actually helps you.
Agreed. Amazing. Thank you so much, Kelie. And thank you for those who have taken the time to listen to the podcast. Feel free to leave some comments. Feel free to share this podcast and all this amazing wisdom that Kelie Fisher has just shared with us. If you have any questions, reach out. If you have any questions about the women's only BJJ program at the Hunter Valley Martial Arts, reach out to Kelie, who also runs a women's empowerment program. So I would highly recommend that you reach out to Kelie, who is at the Hunter Valley Martial Arts, which is in Newcastle, in New South Wales. Remember to just continue to keep training and master the art of leadership, or whatever that might look like or mean for you. And all the best. Thank you. And all the best for everybody out there who are trying to master their leadership from mat to mastery.